Well, it's really great to see you, both Jeffrey McDaniel and Brian Kreitz. From what I understand, the two of you are going to be taking a group of students to Paris next summer. What I want to know is if you can tell us a little bit about your program first. Tell us what learning abroad benefits they're going to be for them, what cultural wonderful things that will happen, the cultural aspects, and also what future career benefits your students will have. So let's start out with, what is it you're going to be doing in Paris with your students? And the two of you will be doing it together. I understand you're both in IT, and that's kind of exciting. So why don't you two start and tell me a little bit about this program and what your students will be doing?
Yeah, so this is basically kind of an updated version of a program that we taught now 2 years ago in London. And the kind of core of the program is a way for students to come into a semi-academic setting and really focus on trying to build their own startup. So we call it International Startup Bootcamp. We move it every year. Last year it was supposed to be in Tel Aviv, but of course, because of COVID, we had to cancel it. 2 years ago, it was in London, and this year it's going to be in Paris. And the kind of core idea is that we take a group of students, mostly computer scientists, although it's not required. The only requirement is that they have some sort of computing background, or some prerequisites in programming. And then we take them to kind of a major city that has some sort of a tech hub. We kind of embed them with other entrepreneurs. Typically, we find some sort of housing related to some sort of startup incubator or makerspace or something like that. And then for 1 week prior and 4 weeks in country, we have them essentially build a startup from the ground up. They have to build both an engineering product and come up with a business plan. And they do lots of market research in country, as well as building their product with their team. And then at the end, they do a pitch as if they would be pitching to investors. So it's really kind of the full startup feel without any of the risk you'd normally get starting your own venture and having to raise your own funding.
So this is kind of close to an immersive learning situation where they're actually going to be mapping some of the professional things that they would need to know that will benefit them when they're out in the workplace and they're done with their degrees.
Yeah, we actually think of it really as it kind of serves two really good functions. One is for people who think they might want to be founders. They can come in and kind of work through an idea that they might already have, see what it's like to be on a founding team. And for people who are thinking about joining startups after when they join the workforce or joining startups as an internship, what's it really like to work at a startup, be a founding member, and be kind of on that core team wearing all the hats and having to do everything yourself versus work at maybe a larger, more established company.
And
So
certainly
Jeffrey,
certainly for the students that don't want to join a startup, they learn a lot of project management techniques and they learn industry standard tooling as well. So all the skills that they'll pick up are transferable to any large corporation as well. Even though there's training in the larger corporations for this type of work, it still will give them a leg up over their peers.
So Jeffrey, why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the places that they might get to go while they're in Paris?
Yeah, so Paris definitely has a lot of culture to it. And so there's a lot that we'll encourage them to do outside of it, but we've also set up or are working to set up some excursions that they'll be going on. Primarily, we're looking at, of course, the Eiffel Tower, taking a look at the Eiffel Tower and maybe even discussing some of its history as a radio tower and what it was originally intended to be, how it stayed up, as well as touring it. There's a Louvre museum tour. So they'll be exploring the Louvre, which will be exciting. I've never gone, so I'm looking forward to that one as well. And a Palace of Versailles tour is being set up as well. And these tours, quite a few of them, there's actually going to be another study abroad excursion in bioengineering that will be going. And we're going to try to correlate or collaborate with them to go on these tours. So there'll be additional students from the bioengineering department that the students will be able to interact with for the cultural experiences and for the social aspect of it, to give them sort of even more people in country that they can interact with.
That's wonderful that you're combining it with another program. So if you do this, do the students need to have a language requirement in French in order to go with you?
No, there's no language requirement. That's one of the reasons we try to keep to the bigger cities and technology hubs. Technology hubs have so many expats. They have so many Americans and internationals working and living there that there really can't be a language requirement to get around in Paris. And so there's a lot of signs in English. It's really easy to talk to people and get around without any French background. We actually were there last summer, or 2 years ago now. We were there. I have a little bit of French, but my French is, 2 years in high school. Yeah. Je parle un peu de français.
Yeah, and I can only order coffee in French, so
Yeah, so that's enough to get by, but it
All you have to
certainly
do is start with "où", which is where is "où".
yeah, and mumble off the rest and you'll be fine. But it's really an easy country to get around without any French experience. And of course, if you have French experience, it will be a little bit easier, and it's a great time to practice that French and to learn a little bit while you're there, but there's no requirement.
yeah.
So having been to the Louvre a couple of times myself, because I have cousins in Paris and have been there a few times, I would say pick where you want to go in the Louvre, because that you could go a week and still not see everything there. It is gigantic and magnificent. What about prereqs? Are there prereqs for this course?
Yeah, the prerequisites for this course, if you are from UC Riverside, the prerequisite would be CS14, which is or actually, I think, sorry, it's now going to be called CS10C. So either CS14 or CS10C, depending on the calendar year. That is the third quarter programming course in C++. The language requirement isn't C++, so it's going to be mostly just 1 year of programming. That is what we're going to be looking for. So if you come from another university, you have 1 year of really any programming language under your belt. That should be sufficient. So definitely reach out, definitely talk to us to make sure you have the necessity, the programming acumen, and understand a little bit about data structures, a little bit about algorithms, and you should be fine.
Brian, how many students are you hoping to take with you next summer?
Yeah, we're hoping to take between 15 and 20. That's kind of the number we had last year or 2 years ago when we went to London. And that gives for good sized teams, a good number and a good size for the founding startup teams. We do allow some flexibility both on team size and of course, the number of students we take. But that gives us a nice kind of student to teacher ratio for the kind of really in-depth kind of experience we're hoping to get here. Because we do teams and because it's pretty fast paced from kind of being a startup experience, there's kind of a lot of one-on-one. And so we like to keep the ratio, 2 of us to about 20 students, usually 4 or 5 teams.
So when are you going to be making this trip? I think you said summer too?
Yeah, so summer session B for UCR, which is August 2nd through August 27th, around then.
And it would be July 26th would be 1 week in country, and then August 2nd to the 27th, or sorry, 1 week in the US or wherever you are. And then the 2nd through the 27th will be in country.
Yeah, and the prep week, the non-in-country week, is done fully remotely. So we do some virtual meet and greets and have some prep work both in the engineering side for language and for students to kind of think about what they want their startup to be and get that kind of all squared away in their team set. And then the 4 weeks in country is really meeting with your team kind of on a daily basis, doing your market research, building your product, and then ending at pitch day, which is at the end of the program.
Well, this just sounds wonderful. I do have a final question though. If students want to get a hold of you and find out a little bit more about the requirements or the cost or anything like that, what email can they reach either one or both of you at? Maybe you could state that now.
Yeah, they could email me. I still look at my UCR email all the time. It's jmcda001@ucr.edu. I was an undergraduate at UCR, so I still have my undergraduate email, and I still check it regularly. So you can email me there, and I'll provide you with any information that you'd like.
Yeah, and it's a similar for me. It's bcrit001@ucr.edu. And of course, there's more information at the UC FLEAP website for Riverside.
So I'm hoping that you guys get a lot of people going. I have to tell you, as much as I am just not an IT person, as I told you, I'm from film, music, and theater. So I am definitely in the arts and then into remote learning and online learning pedagogy. But if I could get away with it, I would want to go on this trip because it sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would want to add as a final little button for our students so that they might know more about why this would be wonderful for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great program. The students we had 2 years ago really loved it. And I think that even if you end up not wanting to join a startup, we have plenty of people who go through the program and say, it's just not for me. It's a great learning experience. And you're really going to get the kind of story that you can put on your resume that's really going to make you attractive to both startups and large companies when you go into industry or when you do your next round of internship. So it's really both great from a learning experience and kind of as that cherry on the top of your resume to really distinguish you from your peers.
And then, well, that's a really attractive additional too. Thank you. This has been great. I'm really wishing you great luck and wonderful time in Paris. I'm extremely jealous, I have to say. And let's hope that it all goes beautifully, that you have probably too many people trying to get in, but thank you for joining me. And let me know how it goes.
Thanks.
Thank you.